could see myself in her situation. Like, where is the empathy? Yes, and the important thing to understand is that if you study American history, you'll realize that this dialogue and debate about Renee Nicole Good and Jonathan Ross is the exact same dialogue that was being had about lynchings in America. It's the exact same dialogue that was being had about race riots in America as well. I've spoken about this in my series on Black history, but if you study the very beginning of the NAACP, you'll learn that the very first thing that they work on is gathering information on lynchings, not civil rights. They're not trying to push for black people to have equal rights. They're just trying to get people to understand that lynchings actually happen and the victims of lynchings are actually innocent. Like today, it's understood that the beating of Rodney King in the 1990s was wrong, but imagine living in a world where people are selling postcards of the photos of the lynching of Jesse Washington, this kid who's taken out of a courthouse in Waco, Texas, then he's set on fire, and then his fingers and genitals are cut off and then given to children. Jesse Washington was a 17-year-old kid, and yet at the time people said, well, he probably shouldn't have been doing what he was doing. And we are seeing the exact same thing today with Renee Nicole Good, where people are blaming her for her actions, despite the fact that she was in a situation that was ultimately illogical and irrational if you really look at it from an objective perspective. It's the same thing with race riots. Race riots have been around in the United States for a very long time. They are nothing new. Yet, it wasn't until the 1950s and 60s when they started being televised that people really started to pay attention and realize how bad they actually were. But after a certain amount of time, when people started seeing this footage over and over again, they started to develop empathy because they realized that they weren't so different from the people being depicted, especially when you had white protesters along with black protesters as well. So it's really interesting to study that period from 1909 till around 1968, or just today if you really think about it, when it comes to American history, where you can see how long it took to build empathy to get people to understand something that is relatively understood today, that lynchings are bad. That's not a hot take anymore. But now the narrative is that if the police hurt or kill you, well, that's your fault for not complying, even though they often give people conflicting orders so they can claim that you weren't complying after the fact. And in general, it's a reality that we should not accept. We should not accept a reality where we are in fear of being killed by law enforcement.